So sings my soul. Praise my God of love and life. So sings my soul. The joy.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is a wonderful day. I want to share with you some thoughts on living well in your world as it is. My theme for the month is cultivating the attitude of good living. And if I were to go back to the scripture reading, where Jesus is saying, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish them, but to fulfill them." And if you were to reflect upon that, you will find that despite the fact that everything changes in life, the law or the principles of life do not change. They are immutable. They do not change. And so on the one hand, what he's saying is, I come to demonstrate how to live within the structure of the law. And he's not here to abolish the prophet. And the prophets technically means one who speaks for God. Most of the time we think of prophet who tells the future. But that's not the primary function of the prophet. The prophet is one who speaks for God. And so he's here not to abolish the idea of one who speaks to God, but to represent it more fully. And inasmuch as he's saying that, he's really telling us how to live well in the world, because if you think about the world, we could make an endless list of things we don't like about it. We really could. And particularly now. Regardless of what side of the political or economic or racial or any kind of issue you're on, we can make an inexhaustible list of things we don't like. And yet, the unchangeable aspect of life, the law, and the way that we can come to a place where we're centered in the presence of God is profoundly moving if we can embody it and if we know how to come from that point of view where we achieve the peace that passes all understanding and where we begin to realize that the world is either an obstacle or an opportunity for you to be more expressed. And it would not be anything of an opportunity if there weren't apparently obstacles in it. And this is where we come to understand how we can live well in the world as it is. It was Joseph Campbell who said, "Life is joyful just as it is." I don't believe there was anybody who intended it, but this is the way it is. James Joyce has a memorable line. He said, "History is a nightmare from which I'm trying to awake. And the way to wake from it is not to be afraid and to recognize that all of this, as it is a manifestation of the horrendous power that is all creation. The ends of things are always painful, but pain is part of our being in the world. I will participate in the game. It is a wonderful, wonderful opera, except it hurts." By now you're all familiar with the 5 unavoidable givens. Everything changes and ends. Things don't always go according to plan. Life is not always fair. Pain is part of life, and people are not always loving and loyal. It's how life is. And you're affirming that won't change that. What it will change is you're affirming that you can live fully in this life because It is where you bring your creativity, your love, and this brilliant talent that you have come here with. And the work for your talent is to develop them and to share them. And sharing them means you're doing them for yourself and you're doing them for others. I have really more things than I can talk about here this morning. I have actually 12 things I want to talk to you about, and I know I'm not going to get to them, but this is what you get as a minister here, one who gives you more than he can give, and you have to listen to more than you can take. But this is what you got. I want to talk about, if you're going to live well in the world as it is, live every day as a fresh new start. Be true to who you are. Quit complaining. Be proactive. Rather than think, what if, think next time. Focus on what versus how. Create your own opportunities. Live consciously each day. Be committed to your growth. Know your inner self. Discover your life purpose. And the final one is live in alignment with your purpose. I decided maybe what I'll do is start writing these up and put them in a little publication. And you get what you can get in service. When the time up, I chop it off and it's done. and you will get something of substance, hopefully, from that. But let's talk with the first one, which live every day as a fresh new start. As I get older, and hopefully as you get older, and that's all we get, you know. Some of you might. Yeah, I don't care how much cosmetics you buy. I don't care how much injections you get. You're getting older, okay? And the beauty about getting older is that you begin to appreciate time more because you realize your time is short. But your time is sufficient. Short doesn't mean insufficient. Short means you better get on the stick and begin to do what your life is about. That's what short means. Short is a way of saying, hey, let me have your attention here. You don't really have this time to waste. You have this time to grow into that magnificent person that you are. And every moment you miss is a great big opportunity that is missed. So you should look at the present moment as both a starting point and an ending point. It can end the things you no longer want, and it can start the things that you do want. But you might say, well, gee, if time is short, why am I starting something at this point in my life? Well, my answer to you is you're starting it because it's not about finishing. It's about getting on track with what it is that your life is about and living it. And so the journey of the 1,000 miles does start with the first step. You're on your journey. And in the end, it's not the end that matters, it's the journey. And so the start is where you begin to think afresh, to think that, gee, these are wonderful possibilities of my life. A 95-year-old woman, black woman, completed her PhD with a 4.0 average. 95-year-old. So we're sitting there thinking, gee, does she have to get that qualified to shuffle off this mortal coil? It's not about that. It's about having a sense of what your life is about and how you can affirm that by what you do. It's not even about the 4.0. Some of us won't be able to get a 4.0, but learning, the fact that you're learning is your 4.0. Is your coming to become the person that you should be and you can be. And so when Jesus talks about not coming here to abolish the law and the prophets, he's speaking about you as well. You're not here to change the structure of life. Life is the way it is. It has good and bad, right and wrong, up and down, black and white, and all these wonderful various things that people have put false values on and make things bad that are good. But you don't have to do that, do you? And you can begin to find yourself in that place where you can have that clarity about what your life is and get going with it. So, Ernest Rome says to change your life, you must change the way you think. Solomon says that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And what that means is that the embodiment of your thinking that converts it into your feeling and then turns it into what you do is what your life is about. And so when Aristotle says you are what you habitually do, it means you have formed your personality and you're moving forward in this life. So you must feel the truth. When the Bible says the truth shall set you free, it's not the stuff in your head that is going to set you free. It's not a particular verse or idea. God is this, God is that. Those are words. It's the meaning that is felt profoundly in you that transforms you and transforms the world in you live in, so that you can move into it as it is and become the person you need to be as a result. Now, be true to yourself. You know, Shakespeare says, to thine own self be true, and it must fall as the night and day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. What a profound thinker he was. What an amazing psychologist he was. To realize that some of us run through life trying to be this and that to please somebody else, to live up to somebody else's standard of us. And what I'm saying is that I'm not saying you must become a pain in wherever one becomes a pain. What I'm saying is that there is an essential you that wants to be expressed. And that essential you was being expressed when you were a baby and everybody just loved you and showered you with kisses. Why? Because you're natural. You were the person who they might have written about on one of my famous quotes here, the Arizona cowboy. You remember that one? It says, be what you is, because if you be what you ain't what you is. And so the idea is for you to look at yourself and say, am I who I really am? Am I just trying to be something? Emerson says, imitation is suicide. Imitation is suicide. Why? Because you're killing off that unique person that is the gift, your gift to life that you are. And this really means a loving person, because the aim of God for all of us is goodness, It doesn't mean that you become a pain to everybody. It means you bring that goodness that is genuinely there within you. Think about it. What are my strengths in terms of the good things I want to do with my life? And you begin to look at that. And despite the way that life seemed to be, it turns into an opportunity for you to be exactly who you need to be, because you're right for the world. The third thing is stop complaining. So turn your complaints into action. Take a look at life, and you see you have umpteen complaints somewhere along the line. Decide what it is that you can do something about, and do it. We're really short on people who will do things that make a positive difference in life. We're very long on people who just complain and complain and complain and complain. Finger pointer and finger pointer. If you're one of those people, we don't need you. You're a duplicate. And God doesn't make duplicates. God makes unique people, persons who can contribute uniquely to life. And that's really who you are. And when you do not wake up to that, you're living the lie within yourself. And to live a lie is to live in the old way of doing it, to say you live as a sinner. That's what a sinner was. Sin comes from a Hebrew word which means missing the mark. You're missing the mark. Before it got to mean a stain on the soul, you're missing the mark. But in a sense, it's a stain on the soul because the soul within you want to be more fully expressed, and that's not what you're doing. Get comfortable with the acknowledgement that there is a me in here that is to be expressed as fully as I can be expressed. And when you do it, you will find yourself becoming the answer to something that the world needs, or at least the world you live in needs. Be proactive. When we think about proactive, you all know what that is. It means you take action. You look ahead to see what it is you need to be prepared for in your life and take action in doing it. You stop waiting around for somebody to be your answer. You start where you are. That's the only place you can start. You don't look around at the result and just say, well, it's not working. You look at what it is that you ought to be doing with your life. You look at, some painters who never really made it in their life. Van Gogh, for example, who I think he sold one painting in his life. I know you can't pay for his thing. You say, well, that's fine. It didn't do him any good. It wasn't about selling the painting that did him some good. It was about being authentically who he was. And he left that as a legacy for us. In a similar way, even if we do not become world-renowned, it doesn't matter. You're leaving a legacy for the people you have touched in your life, as the people who have gone before you have done for you. It's the way life works. It's the law of circulation. It is how we begin to transfer not just what people need to do to be successful, but people need to do to become, as Einstein would say, people of value. Don't be a person of success, be a person of value. It doesn't mean you don't get to be successful. That's not what it means. What it means is that you don't make your goal such that you will use people and do bad things with them to achieve what you want, as you can see oftentimes in politics. You don't need to be that person. The world doesn't need those people. It needs people of value that will allow, for example, the value of love to shape the way you deal with people, particularly people who work for you or work with you. You begin to see what you're like when you see how you treat others who you have some power over. So look ahead, anticipate what challenges are going to come, and prepare for them. I mentioned getting older. What happens when you no longer work? Maybe you no longer work right now, but you still have to look ahead. What if this happened? What if that happened? This is not being negative. This is being aware of how life can be. I look at people who walking around with problems with balance. That happens to some of us. It may happen to more of us. You start looking at what you're doing right now to preserve yourself so that you can be in the best position you can be to deal with things that are coming down the pike. Look at what your life might be in 5 years from now and see some of the things you need to be thinking about and start thinking about them and planning for them, even as you enjoy the moment. The wonderful thing about the present moment, people always say, live in the present. And as I tell you many times, in a way, it's impossible to live in the present. The present happens in such a small amount of time that by the time you think that you're in the present, you're already in the past. So, don't live in the past. No, the past is important for you to have as a reference point, for you to get your wisdom from. Just imagine that you have lost your memory and you have no past. Who would you be? Who would you be to the people who are in your life? We see that all the time. So don't think that just because you make the present important, you must make the past unimportant. Nor do you make the future unimportant because you're living toward it. What are you living toward? What gets you excited in the morning when you get up? said, well, I can do this. I can do that. And suddenly there's an energy that comes in you that wouldn't come otherwise. And because you have something to live toward, even as you're living in the moment with appreciation, with generosity, and with a feeling that you're supported by your universe. This is very important. Number 5 is, rather than think what if, think what next. What next? What next? Many of us can do what ifs, and what ifs is really not that bad when you're thinking creatively, but you don't want to spend all your time in what if. You really need to see what is it that you need to be doing that is important for you to do. For example, you can say, gee, what if we had rain and we weren't in a drought? What if there wasn't global warming and all that kind of stuff? But you can also say, what if I don't leave the faucet on while I brush my teeth so I can save water? What I find myself doing now is when I'm soaping my hands, get the soap in my hand, get a little water, turn off the faucet, soap up my hands for 30 seconds, and then I turn on the faucet. It may not mean anything to anybody out there, but if we are all doing it with California drought, the notion that abundance is always here doesn't mean you waste things and just to prove that abundance is here. It means you know how to use things more efficiently when that is the case. One of the greatest teachings we have is seen in Genesis 2 when God made Adam and say, I want you to take care of the garden. And people look at that old myth and, they turn it into original sin and all that nonsense. And they miss the point that we are the gardeners of this garden they call the earth. We are the caretakers of the earth. That's what our consciousness allows us to be. And this business of, what is it called? Conspicuous consumption. You all know that. You just go out and buy things because you can. You go out and waste things because you can. You buy far more food than you will eat because you can. You throw it away because you can. Come on. If you have so much on you that you can, share it. There's a lot of people who don't have. And don't sit there thinking, well, they don't have because they decide to use their consciousness badly. That's not for you to judge. That's not for me to judge. They don't have it because they don't have it. And you have it because you have it. And yes, you know things they may not know. But we're all in this thing together. And nobody is worth living a worse life than living a better life if we all can help in some small way. And we can. So this business of being Adam is an important thing. And in former times, I've told you how important it is to be Eve, but not today. The 6th thing I want to talk to you about is focus on what instead of how. When we have a dream, when we have something that we want to accomplish in life, we say, well, I don't know how to do it. And we allow this don't know how to do it or I don't have the wherewithal. I can imagine that at some point, this woman I mentioned who is 95 or 96, maybe she's 96, not 95. And that's important because, we don't go much past 100, most of us. But she went out at some point. She might have had the thought, gee, does it make sense to pay all this money to get this course and to study this and that and to be so brilliant and diligent that she can score high in her class? I don't know. But at some point she might have doubted herself. As all of us doubt ourselves from time to time. Doubt is fine. Just don't give in to it. Get wise from it. See what it is that you need to do to shore up the success that you want in this life. You know, when they put these walls up in this building, they didn't just come and just throw the cement over there and the concrete over there and it form itself. They put shoring, architectural shoring, that boxed them in until the concrete set. And then it formed this strong wall with reinforcement, steel reinforcement. And then now you don't have to support it anymore. And we all need to do that. We need to shore ourselves up with the principles that allow us to understand that even though these are invisible principles, almost as invisible as the steel inside the walls right now, which you don't see, they shore us up inside, subjectively, unconsciously, and give us that backbone to walk strongly with our heads high and to do things. We're to take care of this garden. We are to take care of everything. We are to know what we want to do before how. And the what allows you to begin to embody the fact that this is who you are. And when you know who you are with the what you need to do, you begin to find the openings into the universe, because we live in a universe where God is forever putting options before us. God is forever putting options before us. As they teach in process theology, the idea is God is not going to come and do your life for you, but God is putting options before you. You ask, why can some people do bad things and seem to get away with it? Because we have freedom. God cannot take your freedom away just because you decide to do bad things with it. You look around and you see the children and say, where is God in all this? Where God is putting options before those people too that are good, and they're ignoring it. And we may not be shooting people, but God is also putting options before us every single day, and we do not see it. And so in the Bible it says, the kingdom of the Father is spread out upon the earth, and men do not see it. That is actually the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas. It didn't make the canonical Bible. They kept it out. But Jesus did say that the kingdom of God is within you. You are too. You're not going to see it low there or low there. It's within you. If the kingdom of God is within you, the core of what you can be is within you. And if you don't believe it, that's what you will achieve. Nothing. You achieve your doubts. And your doubts will build up into actualities. Oh, you doubt? And that's what Jesus called a mountain. You know, the mountain, if you speak the word in faith and you say, this mountain be removed, it's not Hollywood Hills. That's not the mountain he's talking about. It's the mountain of doubt and fear and anxiety and depression. These are the mountains that are before us that do not allow us to fulfill the promise within us. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what? What am I here to do? And you will arrive at what Napoleon Hill said, whatever a man can conceive and believe, he can achieve. And man is human, woman, everybody. The seventh thing I want to share with you is to create your own opportunities. And I'm almost out of time now. Not going to get to 12. You've heard the saying, God helps those who help themselves. This is a very important thing. When it seems like nothing is working, do not believe it. Look more deeply within yourself to see what can work. And answers will come. It may not come immediately. It may take time, because life is process. The miracle of life is in its processes. And the process must begin. We go back to that moment when we were talking about living in the present moment. It begins in the now. And when it begins in the now, it's the seed that grows into the tree the mustard seed Jesus talks about. And it flourishes. We're here to thrive and flourish. Aren't you here to thrive and flourish? Just because you haven't done well in something doesn't mean you're not going to do well in the future. But you have to start. You have to do it. You have to help yourself. When Jesus said, believe, your belief has healed you, what he's saying is not just your body that is being healed, your mind, your doubts, your fear, your anxiety, all these things that prevent you from moving forward in your life. When he says, if you have the faith of a grain of mustard seed, and you say to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, and do not doubt, it shall be done. He's saying that idea is like a grain of mustard seed. It's tiny. It's so tiny you don't really see it. And yet it is so powerful. It can change your world. You don't have to worry about changing the world. What you have to worry about is changing your world and how you're living in it. And we're saying here, you can live well in it. All is well with my soul. That's where it starts. It starts in your soul, the embodiment of the big ideas that your life can be, and your life is in becoming. Every single moment your life is in becoming. The eighth thing is live consciously each day. Some of us live like we're coasting. We live like entertainment is why we live. And I'm not knocking entertainment, it's important. But it's important like dessert is important. You know? You don't just gouge yourself on dessert. Oh, well, I don't like broccoli, some important president once said. I hope you don't let that influence you. As we get older, we have to learn what likes us. Dessert doesn't like us that much. It expands in areas that we don't want to expand in. And it shrinks areas that we don't want shrunken, like our brain, for example. You know, the sugar causing us to have all kinds of problems. We have to be careful of that. Diabetes and all these things. Sometimes we don't know, and sometimes it's genetic, and sometimes all these things may come upon us. But the point is not what comes upon us, the point is what you're doing about it. What can you do about it, and are you doing it? And so we have to live consciously every day. And we are here to do something. We're not here to do nothing. We're not here to become mystics while I'm saying that, I consider myself a mystic, and go out on a mountain and just sit up there meditating all the time. We're social beings. We're here for each other. We're here to make the world better by making ourselves better and let it radiate to others. As Jesus said, that you're the light of the world. A city set upon a hill cannot be hid. Nor do men light a lamp and put it on a bushel, but he put it on a stand where it gives light to all the house, and men can see it and glorify the Father which is in heaven. This is the beauty about life, that your light is not supposed to be out there isolated. Your light is the coming together of all the lights. And realizing that if you live consciously each day and say, what is it? What is my main thing today? What am I supposed to be doing today? And you will do it. So to live well, you must live consciously. You can't just coast and be entertained. Gee, I might just reach it. The ninth thing, no, I won't reach it. Be committed to growth. Be committed to growth. Take courses. Self-reflect. Build on your strength. And your strength means your talents, enhanced by skill and knowledge. That's what a strength is. Do not rely on the feeling of familiarity, but focus on what will enable you to grow most. Come to every day with a sense of this 96-year-old woman And she's 96. I just saw it in my notes now. It's 96. And come with this feeling that you don't have to go out and take a PhD. You need to take your PhD from life every single day. You're learning every day. You're opening your eyes to new things. The brain begins to shrink and shrivel up when it's not challenged. Learn things that you haven't been learning before and see how well you can live in this world. I'll do 10 and then I'll stop because it is 11 o'clock. Oh, let me decide which is the last one to do. I have know your inner self, I have discover your life purpose, and I have live in alignment with your purpose. Which one would you like to hear? Alignment? Okay. And you say all of them? And what does the rest of you say? What do the rest of you say? All of it. Okay. Who wants to leave can leave. Just make sure you leave your collection before you come. Okay. Know your inner self. Do you know who you are inside? Do you know that right now, 450 million people suffer from mental illnesses? Do you know that 40 million adults in the U.S. suffer from anxiety disorder? 6 million suffer from major depression, and 6.1 million suffer from bipolar disorder. And you know what? You look in churches, not just this church, and people don't go to church because they think church is something you go to. Church is something you become well in if you're doing it right. It's about your spiritual life, and everything around your life rotates around that core. Church is not just a list of do's and don'ts. It's a list of how you can be the person you can be and how you can help each other as a social group to do it. But we have lost that. We have lost that in the cell phone. We have lost that in television. We have lost that in all the things we can do, the video games and all these things that we can do that makes church irrelevant. But in as much as church has become irrelevant, our inner life becomes even more relevant because we are falling apart. And so, my friends, when you come here and when you support your church, don't think that, gee, I'm doing it because of life after life, and I want to make sure I take out this insurance policy so I can go to this wonderful place. The wonderful place is here and now. This is the opportunity God has given us. This is the day that the Lord has given. I heard Debbie saying that earlier on. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. But you can't rejoice and be glad in something that you're not aware of. Gee, I am rejoicing and be glad in, but I don't know what I'm rejoicing and be glad in. You have to become aware. And so, meditation, prayer, contemplation, studies, these are ways in which, and social coming together, these are ways in which we bond and find that inner light that is there that works for us. So, meditation, not just medication, okay? If you begin to find yourself more in harmony with life, then the things that lead to your medication oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes, the thing that leads to it is stress. You're stressed out. You're a house divided against itself. This is the house that can bring things together, but if people don't show up, what can I do? What can I say? The 11th thing is discover your life purpose. Have you ever sat down and wrote out the mission of your life? What is your life's mission? What are you here for? What have you took this week to write down what you think you're here for? And look at how you are living it. And see just how big a gap it is between what you ought to be doing and what you actually are doing. Rich Sherman says, the biggest threat to our well-being is the absence of moral clarity and purpose. And what he's calling moral clarity and purpose is goodness. And the fact of you having a role in it. It's not just keeping rules, but oftentimes these rules do tell you something about how to live with each other. You know, it's love your neighbor as yourself. And it's a powerful rule because you know how much you love yourself by if you a hand on a hot stove, how quickly do you move it off? You don't want to do that because that's not loving yourself. It's the same thing when you begin to understand life is relational and we have to be able to live those values. I'm going to move quickly on each one. Discover your life purpose, then, is also what Socrates says, the unexamined life is not worth living. You haven't taken time to reflect. I'm too busy working. I know how that can be. You're too busy trying to make ends meet, trying to make money, trying to do this. You know, we all want this. We want the car, we want the chicken in the pot, we want the 3-car garage. It used to be 2, it's 3 now, and so on and so forth. But be aware that there's nothing wrong with these things, except they become your thing. They become your thing. Remember, there are things for you to use, not things to use you. Richard Bach says, here is the test to find whether your mission on earth is finished. If you're alive, it isn't. You're still alive? Anybody still alive out there? Well, your mission isn't finished. So the idea is to find what moves you. What is your purpose? And move with it. Align yourself with your purpose. What can you do immediately that will let you live 100% in alignment with your purpose? 100% alignment. What is it that makes you get up in the morning and say, my God, I'm happy to be here? Good morning, God. You have heard that before. This is Arthur, and you're smiling. Not good morning, God, this is Arthur. No, get up and feel it. And when you feel it, you know it, because you can only know what you can feel. So my friends, if you really want to live well in this world as it is, not wait until the world changes to be as you think it ought to be, because tell me how long you think you're going to have to wait for that. You're not going to live that long, all right? So it is time for you to wake up and smell the roses and go on doing the work. I end up with the latest Changism that I put on Facebook. We may not be able to avoid having good days and bad days. However, we can make the best of each day. God bless you all. Thank you. And Father God, how wonderful it is that we're here together, feeling the spirit of goodness where we are, and knowing that there is nothing absent from this wonderful coming together. So we are blessing the gift, and we bless the giver, and we dedicate the gift to the truth that set us free. And so it is. You may be seated, everyone. Thank you, ushers, for your work. Okay, it's time to pray. So let's turn within, and let's feel deeply that presence, that sacred presence of the entire universe. And to think expansively, to know that the God of the universe is not a God of any particular religion. Is that each religion has adopted that God in their own way, in their own cultural way. Even as each claim that it's the only one right religion. The important thing is to have the only one right God. And that God must be the God of the entire universe, not just a little tiny, minuscule planet that we call Earth, that compared to the size of the universe is a mote of dust. And yet, how miraculous, even on this mote of dust, can the creatures of life be, exhibiting intelligence, creativity, the freedom to choose its own purpose and go its own way. And all in all that going and that returning, to realize that there is a presence and a power in this universe greater than we are, that we call God. And that when we are filled with that presence, there is a light that shines forth from us into the universe in a way that it could not otherwise shine. And we're feeling that right now. And we are also recognizing that it is the source of healing for all that ails us. Yes, we may go to the doctor, we may go to the psychologist, we may go to professionals for this or for that, but all in all, they are just working with the law of life. And we are aligning us with those laws that they did not create, and that mentally we can engage more of, so that we can feel that pure healing occurring in our affairs, in our body, every cell, tissue, fiber, organ, system of our bodies, in our relationship, in the way we love, and in the way we express what is unique about us, and make it become valuable to everyone, not just to ourselves. We bless everyone who has come here today. We bless our state. We speak the word for rain. We speak the word for the consciousness that we contribute to global warming and do something about it. And indeed, something is being done now. Scientists are discovering some things they can do, and that's exciting. We speak the word for those in politics. We speak the word for freedom. We speak the word for peace. We speak the word for the Adamic nature to take care of this garden we call the earth. This Garden of Eden that starts with our hearts and ends with our sense of responsibility, that which thou art I am, and that which I am thou art. And knowing that all is well in this wonderful world of opportunities, I say thank you, Father, Mother, God, and together let the people affirm, and so it is. Please stand for the benediction. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, the peace that passes all understanding, and so it is.